One of the greatest challenges when doing any type of photo or video work outdoors is keeping all of your gear charged. Camera batteries, drone batteries, the battery in your phone, the battery in your GoPro, and even the battery in your laptop. All of these items and more eventually run out of juice and they have to be recharged while you are out in the field shooting. One option is to bring along a power bank like this one here, and this is good for recharging a phone or some other type of small device, but it cannot be used to be recharging drone batteries or to charge up a laptop. For those, you need something with more power, like this 300-watt power inverter here that plugs into the cigarette lighter in your vehicle. And this is great when you're traveling from point A to point B and you need to top off some batteries. You want to charge up your drone batteries, your camera batteries, your laptop, whatever you have. But the limitation to this power inverter is that the engine in your vehicle has to be running. In other words, you have to be burning gas in order to provide power to your batteries and whatever devices you have plugged in here. But thankfully there is another option, and that is to bring along a power station like this one here. This is the EB70 made by Bluetti. Now, if you're interested in more information about the EB70 in general, you want to know my just general thoughts about this particular power station, I'll be getting to that later on in this video. But let's begin by plugging some stuff in and doing some calculations. All right, so let's begin with some low power devices and then we'll incrementally work our way up. Beginning with a GoPro Hero 9. Now the way that these power stations work is that there are power buttons for the outlets. So when you plug something in, you have to turn on the outlets, and there's a power button for USB-C and this cigarette lighter output here too. And then there's a separate power button for the AC outlet. So we just have to press and hold this button and then it powers on. And we can see by looking at the screen here that the GoPro is currently drawing only 2 watts of power. And this number tends to fluctuate a little bit. It tends to be between 2 and 4 watts in my experience. But this power station provides 700 watts of power. So you could be plugging in many more items here. Okay, so how many times could I recharge this GoPro here using the EB70? Well, in order to perform that calculation, we need to know the watt hours of the battery that the GoPro uses. But sometimes manufacturers don't provide watt hours, but they do provide milliamp hours and voltage, which we can use in order to figure out the watt hours. The milliamp hours of the battery is 1,720 milliamp hours. We then multiply that by the voltage of the battery, which is 5 volts, which gives us 8,600. We then divide 8,600 by 1,000, which gives us 8.6 watt hours for the GoPro. We then divide the watt hours of the power station by the watt hours of the battery to figure out how many times that battery can be recharged with a fully charged power station. Now, in order to make these calculations more precise, Bluetti recommended reducing the listed watt hours of the EB70 by 10%, perhaps as a margin of error. So the listed watt hours of the EB70 is 716 watt hours, which if we reduce by 10% gives us 644. We then take 644 watt hours divided by the watt hours of the GoPro battery, which is 8.6, to finally arrive at 74 charges. So this GoPro here could be recharged 74 times using the EB70. Another way to calculate this is how many hours the power station could run if it were just charging up one dead GoPro after another, before the power station itself would run out of power and would need to be recharged. Well, the way to check that is to take a look at the wattage up here on the screen, see how much wattage is currently being output to whatever is currently being charged. And right now we can see it is drawing 3 watts of power, which is very small. We just take the watt hours of the EB70 here, which again is 644. We divide that by 3 watts, and that gives us 200, if we just round down, 214 hours. So with a fully charged power station, the GoPro here could be recharged 74 times, or the power station would run out of power after 214 hours, whichever comes first. All right, so what about an iPhone? Let's give that a try. I'm going to plug that in here. So this iPhone here appears to be drawing about 5 watts of power, which if we divide from 644 watt hours gives us 128 hours. But what about total number of charges? How many times could the phone be recharged? And if we perform the same calculations we did just a second ago, that gives us 58. So the iPhone could be recharged 58 times with a fully charged EB70. Let's now try a camera battery. This is a Canon LP battery here. Canon LP batteries have different milliamp hours depending on whether it's an OEM battery or a third-party battery and which particular type of LP battery it is. Anyway, it's not worth getting into. But this LP battery that we have here, this is 15.34 watt hours, which gives us 46. So this LP battery here could be recharged 46 times. What about a Sony MPF battery? Again, like the Canon, kind of depends on who made the battery, but this one here is 16.28 watt hours, which gives us 39 charges. Okay, now let's try some drone batteries. These are DJI Air 2S batteries here, and let's plug these in. So this drone battery here, this is consuming 38 watts of power, which is obviously a lot more than a camera battery. And this is part of the reason why drone batteries tend to be kind of a pain when you're out traveling. These just consume a lot of power. We get 15 charges. So obviously a bit of a drop from the GoPro and the camera batteries. So what does that equate to in practical use? Well, each one of these batteries runs for about 30 minutes. And if you were to use one after another, recharge the battery, reuse it, and then recharge it again over and over again, you're looking at somewhere around 7 to 7.5 hours of flight time with the amount of power, with the amount of recharging power that this EB70 here can provide. Pretty interesting, right? I mean, I think numbers like that will mean different things to different people. Flight time of 7 to 7.5 hours is obviously quite a lot of time, but it really depends on how much you use the drone. So let's now try something else. Let's now try a MacBook. Oh, and actually, I don't need to use the wall outlet for this because this has USB-C power delivery outlets in it. We get 14 charges. It's also drawing 50 watts of power from the power station, which means this could run for 12 hours before it would need to be recharged. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful when you are comparison shopping and you're trying to figure out what these numbers mean when you're looking at different power stations and you see different wattages, different watt hours. Basically, you can run these same numbers and figure out the same calculation using whichever batteries you need to recharge. Or if you're plugging in something like cameras or lights or monitors, you just need to figure out what the wattage is of those devices that you're plugging in here in order to figure out how long the power station could run before it would have to be plugged in and recharged. All right, so speaking of charging up the power station, with the EB70, there are two ways to do it. You can either do it using a standard household wall outlet, or you can use a cigarette lighter adapter that is included in the box, and you can just plug in the power station to your vehicle and it will recharge that way. Also, if you are going to be truly off-grid, well, you may recharge the EB70 using solar panels, and a solar panel cable is included in the box with the EB70, and Bluetti also sells a line of solar panels that are sold separately. This power station provides more wattage per dollar compared to most other power stations out there. This is a 700 watt power station, and I'll put the price up here on the screen, the current price at the time of this video, so you can check it out. And it is a more affordable power station, and it provides more wattage than what you'll find elsewhere. Additionally, there are more outlets here on the front as well. This one has 4 AC outlets, the 2 USB-C and the 2 USB-A, so you get more ports and power compared to other brands. Up here on top is an integrated carrying handle, so you can pick this thing up and carry it around. It's definitely got some weight to it. I mean, I'll put the number up here on the screen so you have an idea of how heavy it is. Other positive things I like about the EB70, and this is just such a small little detail, but I think it's kind of cool. It has an integrated flashlight here. And the nice thing about this is that if you're like outside using this and you're doing something outdoors and you need some light, well, there you go. You have a ready to go flashlight right there. And according to the output on the screen, this is only consuming 1 watt. So I mean, this could run a really, really long time. And perhaps this goes without saying, but it's so nice being able to plug in multiple devices here at once and charge them all at the same time. So you can plug in a laptop, you can plug in your camera battery charger, your drone batteries, your phone, your tablet, whatever else you have with you, and all of it can charge simultaneously at the same time, as long as the total wattage is below the wattage of the power station, and this one is 700 watts, so that's quite a lot of power. As far as the negatives go, I need to plug this in order to demonstrate this next point. I don't know if you can hear the difference now, but do you hear that? There is an internal fan in the power adapter here and an internal fan in the EB70 here, and when both of them are running at the same time, it's quite loud. This fan in the power adapter actually always runs, whether it's providing power to the power station or not. You just plug it into a wall and the internal fan kicks on. So if you are trying to use the power station, say for like a video shoot and you have live microphones nearby and you're concerned about noise, this makes, unfortunately, quite a bit of noise. And I'm also just really not crazy about the size of the power adapter that comes with this. It feels, I don't know, maybe there's some technical reason why it needs to be this large. It's quite a lot to be carrying around with the power station itself. Another negative, and I realize this is going to be a very subjective thing. People have different opinions about it, but for me at least, I'm just not that crazy about the hardware design. I just find this turquoise mint green color to be a kind of a very weird design choice. And the plastic handle up here kind of makes me think of those caboodle organizers that were popular back in the 90s. I guess they're still popular today. I would much prefer this to be like a gray color or a black as opposed to this. I don't know, you might like it, some people may like it, but for me, I just don't care for it that much. But outside of that, if you're looking for something bigger than a power bank that you can bring with you in order to be recharging your batteries, all the different batteries that you have, and be providing power, continuous power to a camera, to a monitor, to lights, like I have here, and you want to go out and shoot in the field in some area where there is no available power, pretty awesome piece of gear, I think, that opens up additional creative opportunities and additional things that you could be doing, not always in a space like this where you have continuous available wall outlets to be plugging into. This basically brings the inside outside and allows you to do things elsewhere creatively, which perhaps wouldn't be possible otherwise. For more information and to check the current price of the EB70 and check out other power stations that are made by Bluetti, I will leave links below in the video description. In full disclosure, Bluetti did provide me with this EB70 here for the purposes of creating this video. However, they have not sponsored this video, they have not paid for it, nor have they had any editorial input outside of answering some technical questions that I had. So everything that I've shared with you in this video has been my opinion and experience using the product. That's it. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. I'll see you next week.